Menachos. Okay. We're starting first at we should be at good base dollar.
Correct.
Correct? Okay.
Very good. You've been keeping up.
Yeah. A person may donate a mincha offering of a 60 isaron and bring it in one vessel. If he said, I take it upon myself to bring 61 isaron, he brings 60 in one vessel and one in another. So similarly, the congregation brings 61 on the first day of Sukkot, which falls on the Sabbath. It's sufficient for the individual that he be one less than the congregation. Reb Shimon says, but these aren't for the bulls, and these aren't these for the bulls and these for the lambs, and they not be mixed with one another. Rather, until 60, they can be mixed. But they said to him, sorry, 60 can be mixed, but 61 cannot mix. He said to them, all measurements of the sages are thus. In 40 saw one can measure, but in 40 saw less one kortov, he cannot immerse. One cannot donate a log, 2 lugum, or 5, but he can donate 3, 4, or 6, and from 6 and up. One can donate wine, but one cannot donate oil. These are the words of Reb Akiva. Reb Tarfon says one can donate oil, said Reb Tarfon, just as we find concerning wine that it covers as an obligation or as a donation, so too oil covers as an obligation or as a donation. Reb Akiva said to him, no. If this is said of wine, it is because it is brought an obligation on its own. And can you say the same of oil, which is not brought as an obligation on its own? Two people cannot donate one Isaron, but they can donate an Ola offering and a Shlomen offering, and with a bird, even a single bird. If one said, I take upon myself to bring an Isaron, he brings one. If he said Isaronim, he brings two. If he said, I specify, but I do not know what I specified, he must bring 60 Isaron. If he said, I take upon myself to bring a mincha offering, he may bring whatever he wishes. If Yehuda said he must bring the mincha of 5 flour, for that is the principal mincha offering.
Okay, mincha base. Mincha, mincha. So if a person said, I'm going to bring a mincha, or I'm going to bring from the Menachos, Yavi Achas, he must just bring one. Menachos, if he says, I'm going to bring Menachos without giving a number, Mina Menachos, Yavi Shtaim, then he has to bring 2 offerings because that's the minimum we can assume, okay? Perashti, he specified how many Menachos he was going to bring. But any Yodea ma perashti, but I don't remember how many menachos I said I was going to bring. Yavi chamish. Sorry, he doesn't know which. He said he was going to bring from the varieties of menachos, but he doesn't remember which ones he was going to bring. Okay, and then yavi chamishtan. Then he must bring 5 of them because there are 5 different varieties of mincha offering. So in order to cover all his bases, he must bring all 5 types. Pirashti mincha shel Isranim. I specified a mincha of X number of isarons. Okay, and we just said that you can donate anything from 1 to 60. And we said 60 is the maximum you can bring as an offering. Okay, but any yodea ma pirashti, but I cannot remember what number I said on the mincha. Yavi mincha shel shishim isaron. Okay, so then he must bring 60 isarons to, and whatever, and if he said 50, then 50 is included in the 60. Okay, so say, and then the 10 extra is just added, and you're allowed to bring additional voluntary offerings. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi disagrees. Rabbi Omer Yavi Menachos shel Esranim me echad ve'ad shishim. He says you got a problem because if you specified that you were going to bring 3 and you brought 4, you're not Yotze, he says. That's not considered if it's all being brought in one kli. He says Rebbe's opinion, in which he disagrees retroactively with the previous Mishnayos. In Mishna Aleph, he said, remember we said that he can bring up to the maximum of 60. Sorry, in the previous parak. The previous parak, we said that he could bring up to a maximum of 60, and therefore that's what he must bring. So Rabbi Yehuda Nasi says, no, this is you've got to bring the exact number, and if you can't remember what you brought, then now you've got to bring 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, which we can save you the math. Kahati's written that down inside here. Where did he put the number? Right. There we go. Elef shmone meos shloshim isaron. That's 1,800 and 30 Isranot, according to Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, which of course the Chachamim disagree with, and the halacha is not like Rabbi there. Mishna Gimel, the person says, "Harei alei etzim." He says, "I'm going to bring wood for the mizbeach." Lo yivchos mishnei gizrin. Okay, so since he said in plural, so now he's got to bring two logs. Levona. If he says, "I'm going to bring levona for the mikdash," lo yivchos mikometz. He may not bring less than a kometz of levona. Okay, chamisha kmatzim hen. There are 5 times. Now that we mentioned this kometz, the Mishnah now tells us that there are 5 times where we use a kometz measure. Okay, so like we say in this Mishnah, if somebody says, "I'm going to bring levona," he may not bring less than a kometz. So that's 1. Amis nadev mincha. So when somebody offers a mincha, when he volunteers a mincha, yavi ima kometz levona. So then he must also bring a kometz of levona. So that's 2. Amales a kometz b'chutz chayav. So if somebody burns a kometz of flour that was on a mizbeach outside the mikdash, so he's chayav for, as we learned in previously about the shchutei chutz and hakravas chutz. V'shnei bazichin te'unin shnei kamatzim, and the 2 bazichin, that is the 2 the 2 containers of levona that were put by the showbread, by the lechem apanim, they each require a kometz of levona, one in each kli. So that's where we have measures. Now, interestingly, this Mishnah doesn't bring the actual kometz that the Kohen took from the mincha offering to Mizbeach. That's it, because actually I don't know why it's not in there, because you would have imagined, that's the obvious 5th, because I was thinking that the shnei bazichin, so you think, that counts for 2, because we only counted 4 in this Mishnah. So the 5th one perhaps is the most obvious one, which is the Kohen taking the comments of the mincha. Kahati counts Daled and Hay. Counts it as 2, the 2 bazichin. Okay, interesting. Mishnah Daled, Harei alai zahav. If somebody says, "I'm going to give gold to the mikdash," so what we hear is gold coins.
Right.
So, okay, lo yivchos dinar zahav. So then that means he obligated himself to a gold dinar. Kesef, if he says, "I'm going to give silver to the mikdash," again, it's the minimum coin of silver. Lo yivchos dinar kesef. That's the smallest silver coin. Nechoshes, if he says, "I'm going to give copper," lo yivchos mi ma'a kesef. So the smallest copper coin is a ma'a. Perashti ve'eni yodea ma'a perashti. He says, I said I was going to give a donation. It's like, the guy gets up in shul and makes a misha berach, and he specified a donation, and he can't remember how much he said, and the Gabbai can't remember either. So now what do you do in such a situation? Well, this Mishnah tells us, "Eni yodea ma perashti, hu mevi ad sheyomar lo lekach niskavanti." He says he has to give the largest amount that he would feel that he would, and until he feel like, no, there's no way I would have donated this much.
Okay.
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 All right, back to Yud.
Rabbi Yismael says the Omer was brought on the fat Sabbath from 3 saw, and on a weekday from 5. But the Chachamim say whether on the Sabbath or on a weekday it came from 3. Rabbi Chanina, the administrator of the Kohanim, says on the Sabbath it was reaped by an individual with 1 sickle and in 1 basket, and on a weekday by 3 in 3 baskets with 3 sickles. But the Chachamim say whether on the Sabbath or on the weekdays it was done by 3 people with 3 baskets and 3 sickles. The mitzvah of the Omer is that it comes from the closest fields, and that which is closest to the Yerushalayim did not ripen. We may bring it from any place. It once occurred that it came from Gagot to Sephirin, and the Shetei Lechem from the Ein Shokha Valley. How did they do it? They court agents would go out on the eve of the festival and make it into bundles while it was attached to the ground so that it would be easier to reap. All the towns nearby would gather there, so that it should be reaped with great ceremony. As soon as it became dark, it would say to them, "Has the sun set?" And they would say, "Yes." Has the sun set? And they would say, "Yes." And the sickle and this sickle, and they would say, "Yes." This sickle, and they would say, "Yes." This basket, they would say, "Yes." This basket, they would say, "Yes." On the Sabbath, they would say to them, "This Sabbath," and they would say, "Yes." This Sabbath, and they would say, "Yes." Shall I reap? And they would say to him, "Reap." Shall I reap? And they would say to him, "Reap," 3 times for each item. And they would say to him, they would say to him, "Yes, yes, yes." Why is this all necessary? Because of the Sumin, who said that the Omer is not reaped on Motzi Yom Tov.
Okay. I always love this Mishnah because it reminds me of like a football stadium where everyone's going around, yeah, 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 Anachnu ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim, something like that. It's like that's exactly what it is. You're hyping up, you're like winding up the crowd and giving them a good show. And yeah, reap, reap, reap.
The two would be
Zvachim.
We'll finish that. Okay,
Yeah.
here we go. Welcome, and we should be at Yud Aleph Aleph.
Base.
Okay. Blood of a disqualified contest offering does not require washing, whether it has a period of validity or it not have a period of validity. Which blood has had a period of validity? That which was kept overnight, or that which was contaminated with tumor, or that which was taken not out of the courtyard. And which blood has not had a period of validity? That which was slaughtered with intent for beyond its time or outside its place, or that which disqualified people was received or through its blood. If it's splattered from the neck or the offering onto the cloth, it does not require washing. From the horn of the altar, from the base of the altar, it does not require washing. If it's spilled onto the floor and he gathered it up, and it does not require washing. Washing is not required except for blood, which was received in a vessel and was fit for sprinkling. If it's spattered on a hide, if this happens before it had been flayed, it does not require washing, but after it had been flayed, it requires washing. These are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Eliezer says, even if it had been flayed, it does not require washing. Washing was required only for the place of the blood and for a thing which is fit to be susceptible to tumors, contamination, and which is fit for washing. Cloth, sackcloth, and hide are required washing in a holy place, and the breaking of the earthenware vessel must take place in a holy place, and the purging and rinsing of a copper vessel must take place in a holy place. That is the stringency of the katas offering over other most holy offerings. Okay, and we are on to Adios. Okay, hey. 4 brothers, 2 of whom were married to 2 sisters, and of those who were married to the 2 sisters, both died. Both of these sisters require chalitza, but they not be taken yibum. And if the brothers went ahead and married the sisters, they must divorce them. Rav Eliezer says in the name of Beit Shammai, they may keep them, but Beit Hillel says they must divorce them. Akiva ben Mahalalel testified concerning 4 matters. The sages said to him, Akiva, rescind from your position on the 4 matters that you have said, and we will appoint you as you have been based in, are based in for the Jewish people. Akiva replied to them, it is preferable for me to be called a fool all my days and not become a wicked person for even one moment for the omnipresent, that people should not say, Akavaya retracted from his opinions for the sake of obtaining a position of authority. Akavaya would declare Tameh, the deposited hair, and yellow uterine blood, but the sages declare them tahor. He would permit benefiting from the hair of a blemished buchor, but which fell out, which placed in a recess in the wall, and afterwards he slaughtered the animal, but the sages prohibited it. Rabbi Akiva ben Menachos used to say, we do not give to drink neither to a female convert nor to a freed slave woman, but they could come and say, we do give them to drink. They said to him, an incident once occurred in Jerusalem in connection with Kekemas, freed slave woman, and Shemaiah, and Avitolam gave her sota water to drink. Akiva ben Yahal replied to them, they gave her to drink similar.
In other words, a placebo, not the real sort of water.
And they communicated Akiva. He died in a state of excommunication, and the court had his coffin stolen. Rabbi Yehuda said, heaven forbid that one say that Akiva was communicated, for the door of the temple did not close for anyone from the entire people of Israel who was as great as in wisdom and in fear of sin as Akiva ben Menachos. rather who wasn't that they can be excommunicated. It was Eliezer ben Chanach who slighted the requirement of keeping one's hands tahor. And when he died, the court sent its agents, they placed a stone on his coffin, which teaches you that when anyone is excommunicated and dies in a state of excommunication, the court stones his coffin. At the time of Akiva's death, he said to him, "My son, retract from the four matters and that I used to say." He said to Akiva, his father, "Why? But why did you not retract yourself?" And I heard these rulings be pronounced by the majority, and the sages heard them pronounced by the majority. Thus I adhered to my received tradition, then they adhered to their received tradition. But you heard one set of rulings pronounced by a single individual, myself, and a conflicting set of rulings pronounced by the majority. Therefore, it is preferable for you to abandon the words of the individual and to grasp onto the words of the majority. He said to him, Akabaya, Father, intercede with your colleagues about me. And he answered, I will not intercede. He said to him, perhaps you have found some cause in me. And Akabaya said to him, no, it is not. It is your deeds that it is your deeds that will bring you close to the sages, or your deeds that will distance you. Okay. And we are on to Nazir.
Yeah.
Somewhat about whom testified witnesses were testifying. These testify that he declared 2 terms in the Naziris, and these testified that he declared 5 terms in the Naziris. Beit Shammai said the testimony is split, and there is no Naziris here, but Beit Hillel said 2 is the testimony in the 5, and that's always a Nazir for 2 terms.
Right, we just actually learned that in Adios. When we
Right.
about the Chumras of Beit Hillel and the Kulas of Beit Shammai.
Someone who said, I am a Nazir, and his friend heard and said, and I, they are all Nazirim. And that if the first is released, they are all released. If the last is released, then the last is permitted, but all the others are bound. If he say, I am a Nazir, and his friend heard him say, my mouth is like his mouth, or my hair is like his hair, he is a Nazir. If he said, I am a Nazir, and his wife heard and said, I, and he revoked hers, but his stands. And if she said, I am a Nazir, and her husband heard it and said, and I, he cannot revoke it. If he said, I'm a Nazir, and you, and she said, Amen, he can revoke hers, but his stands. And if she said, I am a Nazir, and you, and he said, Amen, he cannot revoke. Okay. And we are on to Orla. Orla. Whatever causes to prevent or seasons or renders meduma with truma, with orla, or with kalel hakaram is forbidden. But Shammai says it also renders unclean, but Beit Hillel says it never renders unclean unless it contains the bulk of an egg. Doste of Kafai Yitma was one of the disciples of Beit Shammai, and he said, I heard from Shammai the elder who said it never renders unclean unless it contains the bulk of an egg. Now concerning what did they say about whatever causes to ferment or flavors, in which renders meduma, the ruling is stringent. In this case of all kinds, like kinds, stringently and leniently. If they are of different kinds, how so? If leaven of wheat fell into a dough of wheat and it suffices to leaven it, then whether it is outweighed by 100 to 1 or is not outweighed by 100 to 1, it is forbidden. If it is not outweighed by 100 to 1, then whether it suffices to cause fermentation or it does not suffice to cause fermentation, it is forbidden. Okay. And we are on to Para.
No, we're first on Nagaim, and let's finish Nagaim, and then we'll do the first Mishnah in Para.
Okay. Okay. We have Yud Gimel. The offerings of 2 Mizorim became mixed up, and the offering of one of them was brought, and then one of them, the Mizorim, died. How does one resolve the predicament? This is the question that the people of Alexandria asked Rabbi Yeshua. He said to them, surviving Mitzvah of it should shine over his possessions to someone else and then bring the offering of a poor person. Correct?
Hold on.
Right. Did I skip a page?
I think, did you do your base?
No, I'm sorry, I skipped that one. A poor Mitzvah who brought the offering of a wealthy person has fulfilled the obligation, but a wealthy person who brought the offering of a poor person has not fulfilled his obligation. A person may bring the offering of a poor person on behalf of his son, his daughter, or slave, or a maidservant, and he thereby enables them to eat from offerings. If you would have said that he is like a wealthy man must bring for himself the offering of the wealthy, so he must bring for himself the offering of the wealthy. So he must bring for his wife the offering of the wealthy, and the same holds true for any offering in which he is obligated. Okay.
Fine. Hadranalach Maseches Negayim.
And Para.
Para.
Eliezer says the term Eglah means within her first year, and the term Para means within her second year. But the sages say the term Eglah means in her second year, and the Para means in her third or fourth year. Rebbeah says even her 50 of the elderly cow is acceptable, but we do not wait for her unless she turned black. In order that it may not become disqualified. Rabbi Yeshua, said Rabbi Yeshua, I did not hear any term other than shalashis. They said to him, what is the word shalashis? He said to them, this is what I have heard without explanation.
Right now, just pause a second. This is Rabbi Yeshua. Where did he hear it? And without explanation. This is Rabbi Yeshua, whose mother used to bring him into the base of Mikdash in the pram. So he heard these things, and he's got, you see this many times, that Rabbi Yeshua hears something, but he doesn't have a proper explanation, and Rabbi Akiva will come and explain it. But it's been Azai this time.
Azai. I shall explain. If you say shalishis, this means the respect to others in account. But if you say shalashis, this means a 3-year-old. Similarly, they said a Ravai vineyard. They said to him, what is this wording, Ravai? He said to them, this is what I have heard without explanation. Said Ben Azai, I shall explain to you. If you say Ravai, it means with reference to others in a list. But when you say Ravai, it means 4 years old. Similarly, they said if one eats in a tsaras afflicted house, half a loaf of 3 kav, of the 3 per kav. They said to him, say of 18 to a saw. He said to them, so I received without explanation. Said Ben Azai, I'll explain. If you say of 3 per kav, there is no kala. But if you say of 18 per saw, its kala portion reduces it.
Okay.
Okay. Good.
Okay, and I'm gonna run along.
Fun. Okay, have a great day. I'll see you
Good to
tomorrow.
have you back.
Good to be back. Thank you.
Bye.